It all began with a late-night Instagram live that no one saw coming. Erica Mena, obviously distressed, exposing a bombshell that seemed too scandalous even for love and hip-hop. Atlanta mills are churning control as reports swirl that DNA results have supposedly verified Mendeecees Harris as the father of Erica's secret pregnancy, and things have taken a scary turn. Fans are startled to learn that an irate Yandy Smith Harris allegedly approached Erica in a private meeting grew confrontational, resulting to Erica's unexpected illness. Emotions were high as accusations of treachery and dishonesty flashed over social media, leaving the reality TV world reeling. R claimed that text messages were released, with angry phone conversations reverberating throughout the night, and family members split over who to trust. Friends of the pair are claimed to be afraid about both women's safety, with insider sources alleging that medical officials voiced worries about Erica's injuries, while Mendeecees is nowhere to be seen. Be found? Did he run in panic? Or is he concealing a deeper secret? Stay tuned as we unravel every twist and turn of this startling drama, where passionate followers are seeking answers and the truth remains. Erica Mena's breath froze in her throat as she pushed through the cafe's glass entrance. Every nerve in her body trembled like a leaf in a hurricane. The soft murmur of conversation and the rich fragrance of roasted coffee beans that used to feel familiar suddenly appeared strange, as if the whole world outside had been replaced by a wide, empty nothingness. Saw the corner table where Yandy Smith Harris sat, arms crossed over her chest, her stare icy and uncompromising. Erica's heart thundered in her ears, each beat a sharp reminder of the wrapped package in her fingers. Held her future and destroyed her past. No matter how many times she read its contents, the sentences remained deeply carved in her head. Harris from Mend has been certified as the biological father of Erica Mena's unborn child with a likelihood of 99%. 9% memories of laughing and late-night chats filled her senses. The first time Yandy brought her to this cafe where she spent numerous hours, wrapping her fingers around a steaming lat, confiding aspirations and concerns in the safe shelter of their companionship. But now every beloved memory seemed tainted, as if the sanctuary of those times had been permanently ruined. Erica sat into the booth opposite Yandy, her spine crushed against the chilly vinyl seat, her fingers so trembling she could barely steady the seal. Yandy's eyes, normally warm and friendly, was suddenly chipped. In the silence that followed, Erica's pulse thumped so loudly that she doubted Yandy could hear anything else. Yandy moved forward and put the envelope on the table between them, as if it were a detonator that would set her world on fire. "Open it," Yandy murmured, her voice low and cruel. Erica's chest, her throat felt hot and dry as she grabbed the paper, unfolding it with the surety she both feared and desired. The single page, stark and unadorned, laid out her. The bright black text stood out against the pristine white backdrop. The test findings established Mendeecees Harris as the father, probability 99%. Erica's vision focused to that one pronouncement, her stomach plummeting out in a wild fall that left her breathless. She attempted to move her eyes to Yandy, but tears welled up and obscured her vision. "I didn't mean for any of this," she mumbled, her voice shaking like an autumn leaf. Yandy clamped her jaw. In response, I said in a brittle whisper, "Didn't you intend to betray me and take my husband?" The accusations landed like blows, each one igniting a fresh flare of guilt and fear inside Erica's chest. "It wasn't like that," Erica managed to say quietly. "I was afraid. I believed you and the guys were done. He said you two were separated. I never intended." She trailed off, unable to complete the sentence. Yandy's lips twisted into a sad, bitter grin. "You were mistaken." She moved across the seat till her elbow rested on the table's edge, her face inches from Erica's. "I never deceived you. I never lied to you. And you sat here day after day, knowing precisely what you were doing." Erica closed her eyes and took a nervous breath. "Please try to understand," she begged. "I thought I could fix this without hurting anyone." "You fixed nothing," Yandy yelled, her voice rising. "You turned my life into a circus. Everyone is criticizing and denouncing you on Instagram, Twitter, and blogs." Erica opened her eyes, covering her mouth with her hand as she swallowed the bile. "That I'm so sorry," she said softly, but Yandy was not completed. A tense stillness settled before Yandy rushed forward. "Erica, do you believe your apologies have any weight?" She threw Erica backward without warning. Erica slipped, her heel snagging on the table leg, and fell hard. Her wrist smacked onto the tiled floor. A scorching shock of anguish shot up her arm. Her head followed, hitting the marble edge of the table with a sickening snap that reverberated in her mind. The taste of copper filled her tongue as the world tilted, the lights above erupting into a cluster of bright lights. All at once, the hum of conversation, music, even Yandy's and anger yelling receded to a distant roar. Erica's vision sharpened to a pinpoint before oblivion took her completely. When she eventually regained consciousness, the antiseptic sting of hospital air overwhelmed her senses. The incessant beep of the heart monitor seemed like a taunt. Even if she wanted, she could disappear. She lay on a tiny gurney with crisp white blankets wrapped about her and Eve in her arm, a lifeline linking her to a world. Her head raced, her vision swirling as she blinked against the bright light. Her wrist throbbed with every heartbeat, and a thick bandage enveloped it in a cocoon of anguish. She tried to sit up, but nausea welled up in her stomach, resisting. A soothing touch on her shoulder made her quiver. A nurse bent over her, wearing a mask of professional care. "It's simple," the nurse murmured gently. "You had a tough fall. I need you to lay quiet while we run some tests." Erica's words came as a croak. "Where am I?" the nurse offered. A compassionate grin, "Central General. You were brought in following the cafe incident. You struck your head and hurt your wrist. The doctor wants to put you under monitoring for a moderate concussion." Erica nodded, shutting her eyes momentarily, the anguish and embarrassment collecting into a tight knot in her chest, the recollection of the push, the fall, and the envelope flashing behind her. Closed eyelids like a horror film on infinite repeat, she felt dumb for ever assuming she could keep her pregnancy a secret, and for trusting men to protect her from exposure. Her phone buzzed on the tray. She peered at the computer, horror blossoming in her gut. Messages, alerts, texts after text. Erica hospitalized following Yandy's assault. Dinner results, proof paternity controversy, men's in hiding. She put the phone back onto the tray as if it were a hot coal and closed her eyes again. The knot in her breast deepened. She had known that she had merely thought it would be on her terms. Now everything was out of control. The door to her room cracked open, and a guy crept into his face, a combination of shame and terror. Mendeecees Harris stood at the doorway, his suit jacket untidy, his tie loose around his neck, his eyes rumined, exhausted, riveted onto hers. She didn't trust him anymore, but a part of her still needed for comfort. He approached cautiously, as if uncertain whether she wanted him there. Finally, he knelt beside her. His palm hovered over hers before softly landing on her wrist. "Erica," he said, his voice heavy with passion. "I'm very sorry." She turned her head toward him, blinking through her tears. "Where were you?" She managed her voice with a fragile thread. "You could have prevented this." He closed his eyes, hurt. "Yandy gave me the data first, making me assume you were lying. I didn't know what to think." She felt a new wave of betrayal calm through her, turning her stomach to ice. "You believed her," she said softly, each word a wound. "Instead of me." His head dropped. "I was scared of losing her. You." He raised his gaze to hers, and Erica saw a flash of the man. She had loved the guy who had spoken promises of eternity, but now that promise was destroyed, ruined by murmurs and secrets. She glanced away from her tears cascading unheeded down the spotless white sheets. "I'm pregnant," she muttered, her voice barely audible. He closed his eyes as if steeling himself. "I know," he replied. "I wish I had contacted you first." She scanned his face for honesty, but discovered only regret and sadness. Outside, the hallway lights flickered, the gentle buzz of the hospital personnel, a reminder of how distant this location was from the peace she previously felt in the cafe. Felt a sense of loneliness as she realized that assistance would be limited in the days to come. Her phone buzzed again, and she fought the impulse to check it. The world did not deserve her misery. Instead, she let her eyes fall to the ceiling, focused on nothing. A faint tap at the door announced another presence, Rashida Frost. Walked into the room, her look a combination of worry and caution. She approached the bedside gingerly, as if uncertain of her welcome. Erica's chest clenched. Rashida had been a friend and ally in times of crisis, but today loyalties were knotted and strained. Rashida's eyes went to Men's, then to Eric. She spoke, "I'm hurting." Rashida nodded. She pulled a chair to the bedside. "We'll sort this out," she whispered calmly. "But just now, you need to relax." Erica, her thoughts raced with unanswered questions. How would she protect her baby? How would she deal with the fallout? And what would happen to her friendships, career, and trust in love? As Rashida and Mench shared a look in the corner of Erica's eye, she felt the weight of their silence descend over her like a blanket. The truth had coming out with a fury, and there was no going back. Erica closed her eyes, her body overflowing with tiredness as new tears formed lines down her cheeks. Erica Mena's eyes fell close. Tiredness flooded over her relentlessly. She knew that once the world discovered her truth, nothing would ever be the same again. Waves sending her into a restless haze where searing agony and shame struggled for supremacy in her head. Each breath felt as if she was swallowing shards of glass. The cadence of her pulse was exacerbated by the sterile clang equipment and the murmur of distant conversations beyond her privacy curtain. In the hallway, physicians and nurses walked with professional precision, their muffled footfall and quiet tones melding into a low hum. That seemed far apart from the devastation erupting inside Arapa's life. She drifted in and out of awareness, images flashing across her brain like a fractured film reel. Yandy's angry look meant shoulders fell. In humiliation, Rashida's kind hand clutching her own. As the hours passed, family members poured into the waiting room. Arap's father's normally steady but concerned. Her mother clutched a crumpled tissue, eyes red from sobbing, and her younger brother resolved to stay impassive, even as concern carved wrinkles on his face. They exchanged. Erica's father's fingers traced the plastic frames of their masks as if seeking comfort. When the nurse opened a sliding door for a normal check, I walked forward. "How is she?" He questioned, his voice a blend of relief and anxiety. The nurse gave a professional nod. "She's stable. Concussion. Her symptoms are minimal, and her wrist fracture was properly set. She is still under." Her mother gave a tremulous sigh and fell into a neighboring outside of the hospital's waiting room television. Her shoulders were trembling. Flippered with breaking news, celebrity controversy escalates, and her findings show paternity and love and hip-hop. Erica drifted, partly listening, her mind spinning around the whispers. Conjecture that would surround her forever. She remembered the moment she first discovered she was pregnant. Tenacious faith that maybe she and Men might construct something enduring before the whispers arose. Yandy's distrust had taken root like a poison vine. In the early days, she told Natalie. In hushed, frantic murmurs, meticulously organizing a talk with Mendeecees, the truth would shatter slowly, but when Yandy phoned with fight in her voice and demanded evidence, everything fell. Erica was gripped by dread. Dread of hurting Yandy, fear of being judged, dread losing Mendeecees, and, most importantly, fear for her unborn child. Now the child's future hung in the balance, threatened by headlines and courtroom gossip still to come. A faint tack shocked her from as the door opened to show Rashida Frost. Her countenance was a tangled weave of pity and resolution. Rashida slipped inside and closed the door quietly, which resonated. Like a verdict, she approached Erica's bedside and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. "How are you feeling?" Erica managed a feeble nod every time she was asked, her voice low and trembling. Muscle of her body resisting the effort. "I'm Haney," she mumbled. Rashida's eyes flickered to Mendeecees, who knelt beside her. His hand hovered uncomfortably over Erica's undamaged one as Rashida cleared her throat, summoning the confidence to grip it. "We need to determine what happens next. The media has already. Our every action will be monitored." Erica closed her eyes. A new wave of sickness threatened her. "I just want silence," she mumbled. Rashida sighed, pulled up a chair, and sat down, knowing it was impossible. "Aside from men's, there's a strategy meeting at 2 p.m., she remarked, her tone altering. "Our lawyer has prepared. He wants us to highlight that Erica was assaulted and that the fatherhood DC clasped Erica's hand, his eyes welling up with tears. If we disclose it now, it would validate everything Yandy said." Erica was forced, her eyelids opened, her gaze settling on his. "We have no choice," she whispered, exhaling. Shakily, the idea of making a public declaration made her stomach churn. But she was aware that quiet would be perceived as her mother pushed the tissue into her palm, tears glistening in her eyes. "Sweetheart, you're not alone," her mother said. "We'll stand by you whatever." Avoid the new sting of tears. Felt pulled down by every look and gossip that poured over social media. The hallway lights flickered above as a doctor re-entered the room, chart in hand. "Miss Mena, I'm going to order a few more tests," he added gently. "We need to confirm there's no internal bleeding and that your wrist is still." Erica's chest clenched as she murmured. He placed the chart. Erica nodded before he said, "We'll be back shortly. Try to rest." Slid out, leaving her with the faint beep of equipment and the constant presence of means. He touched a strand of hair. His hand resting on her face, he mouthed, "I'm sorry." The weight of his remorse was more than any reprimand, and Erica closed her eyes willingly to lessen the discomfort. She imagined her unborn child's little flutter against her ribs. Voices erupted in the corridor, reminding her of why she had to face this. A TV team battled over a quotation. Rashida stood and moved to the doorway, tugging. "The curtains slightly aside, they're out there," she said. Her tone was equal parts frustration and resolve. "The cameras are rolling," and reporters won a statement. Erica's heart sunk. Outside was already ready to pounce. Hungry for her defeat, she pushed her hand to her bandaged wrist. A scorching agony reminded her that Yandy's display had left more than just emotional wounds. A nurse returned, helped Mendeecees slip the locket from his worn chain, and gave it to Erica. Inside was a little picture of Erica and their unborn child's first ultrasonography. "Take care of this," he said. "No matter what happens, don't lose hope." Erica touched the locket, her chest, her breath hitching as recollections of better times flow through her head. The world outside would brutalize her and break her apart, but this small treasure reminded her why. She had to keep fighting. She held to it as the nurse guided her down the corridor to the imaging room. Each step a new struggle. The fluorescent lights of the hallway appeared to become brighter, each shining a spotlight on her misery as she slipped. Upon the tiny table for the next scan, her mind whispered warnings of litigation, custody fights, and unending whispering. She pushed herself to breathe calmly, remembering that her kid was safe for now. Cocooned in her womb, ignorant of the tumult above, the skin was swift to the steady hum of the machine, was a chilly comfort. When it completed, the tech provided a polite nod. "All looks stable." She said that Erica sighed relief when the technician assisted her in sitting up and returned her to the gurney. The nurse took her back to her room, where Menk waiting with a worried expression. Rashida was on the phone, saying quickly that the statements were ready. He took a long breath and met Erica's eyes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he muttered, voice shaking. Erica nodded slowly as her pulse beat. "We have to," she added gently. "Yandy's assertions will stand if we remain mute." He brushed his forehead to hers for a second before moving back. As Rasha and Mendeecees prepared to make their statement to the waiting cameras, Erica laid back against the pillows holding the locket. The world beyond her window had grown black. The fluorescent corridor lights had lowered. She closed her eyes, steeling herself. The storm she was about to unleash oiled mercilessly, and she knew there would be no calm ever again inside these antiseptic confines. Erica Mena lay back against the crisp white sheets, her pulse a sluggish drum under the constant sound of the heart monitor. The antiseptic aroma of the hospital room seemed oppressive, like if every breath she drew held the weight of 1,000 murmurs outside the world. She once traversed with assurance had become a swirl of headlines, gossip, and splintered friendships. Mendeecees and Rashida published a meticulously worded speech an hour ago. Their remarks were resonating across television programs, and Erica Mena has been assaulted, according to social media feeds. The net test results proving paternity are correct. We requested privacy and respect at this trying period. Even as those remarks spread, nothing seemed resolved. The announcement just fueled the fires of curiosity. Fans and critics alike examined every sentence, arguing purpose, resulting in more questions than answers. Erica closed her eyes as she assigned blame and wondered aloud whether litigation or custody fights would follow, letting tiredness sweep over her, yet it gave no respite. Images from the exhibition, Yandy's hand soaring into the air, repeated in her head like a warped video loop. The vase of iced coffee toppled. The table slipped as Erica's wrist buckled under her weight. The last snap her head on the tile still rang in her mind, a sharp punctuation point for a betrayal that sliced far deeper than any physical impact. She stroked her fingertips over the warm metal of the if.